Hello, my name is Stephen Kilger. I'm the managing editor for Feed and Grain magazine and the host of the Feed and Grain podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today as we dive deep into the issues affecting the feed manufacturing, grain handling, and allied industries. Today's episode is brought to you by the Bin Whip from Newmat Systems. The powerful dual impact Bin Whip removes the toughest buildup and blockages in industrial storage silos without hazardous silo entry. Learn more today at binwhip.com. Today, my guest is Brett Buchanan, CFO of Bulk Conveyor Inc. He's here to talk to me about implementation of their QR code technology on all their equipment. It gives instant access to comprehensive information, streamlined maintenance procedures, and enhanced safety guidelines, along with being a good tool for efficient spare parts management. I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you want to help out with the podcast and are listening to this in a podcasting app, please rate us and subscribe. If you're listening online, sign up for the Feed and Grain newsletter, Industry Watch. That'll help you see when new podcasts drop and help you stay up to date with all the news from around the industry. Now, on to the show.
Hi, Brett. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
I first wanted to have you on because I went to Jeeps Exchange back in, what was it, late February, early March?
Yeah.
And you did a little tech talk there about how you guys were using this QR code technology. And I found it really interesting, in part because before the pandemic, I thought QR codes were dead. The pandemic really brought them back with a vengeance, didn't it?
It did.
So now you get this situation where you were going through and everyone knew how to scan. You had us all scan a little QR code when we came in, and everyone knew, which kind of blew my mind and made me think how much easier this technology is to use when it was first introduced. But can you explain to me a little bit about yourself and what you do at Bulk Conveyor Inc.? And do you guys go by BCI? Do you prefer that?
BCI or bulk conveyors, it's whatever's easiest for the persons. We don't care either way.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do there and then a little bit about kind of how you guys are using QR codes with your equipment?
Yeah. So we're bulk conveyors based in Wichita, Kansas. We make heavy duty HD chain conveyors and bucket elevators. All of our equipment primarily goes into processing facilities that are running 24/7, 365. We basically saw a need for this QR technology where seeing maintenance managers either retire, people unfamiliar with positions or equipment. And this platform basically gives our end customers encyclopedia of that piece of equipment at their fingertips. So we did quite a few calls where people need spare parts or people need help on tensioning the chain within the chain conveyor. And with one scan of this barcode or QR code, that end user will be able to see pretty much every single aspect of how that piece of equipment works, operates, maintenance, safety, stuff like that.
I mean, it sounds great because there's nothing really worse than having something need fixing on a piece of equipment or maintenance and then having to go find the manual, go to a website and try to find the info or call you guys. So, can you tell me a little bit more about the system itself? Because I believe it involves some kind of sticker you guys print out and put on the machine and then goes into some kind of portal.
I think the hardest thing about it was just to find, again, our equipment are located in some pretty severe environments where that was one of the trickiest things is just finding a sticker that has a 10 to 15-year life on our equipment. So once we found that, we kind of built the platform to host all the information within the sticker for the piece of equipment. And like you said, to go back on the drawings, that end user doesn't want to have to go back to the office once they're 200 feet in the air looking at a piece of machinery. And we come across quite a few customers where they don't even know where the drawing is. So that's where we think it's a value add to the end user. They can use our equipment to its potential. Therefore, obviously, their facility is going to run much more smoothly and their downtime is going to be minimized by them having the encyclopedia for that piece of equipment at their fingertips.
Yeah, like you said, it seems like such a small thing, but it's got to save so much time because I mean, how many pieces does a facility really have? And more than likely, they weren't all upgraded at the exact same time. So you might have slightly different models per a line that you're running and things like that. So it seems like it makes the organization easier, right? For maintenance specialists and all that.
Yes. It makes the organization easier, and it also confirms that you're ordering the right part. A lot of times we'll get people that aren't familiar with the piece of equipment. And they'll, I think it's this sprocket, or I think the head shaft's this size, where with every piece of our equipment, it'll show the bill of material where there's no gray area when you're ordering spare parts. So obviously, it lists every single spare item within that piece of equipment. So technically, you could take a picture of the QR code, hit the bill of material, and then simply hit our phone number. And within 3 to 4 clicks in less than 45 seconds, you can be ordering a spare part for any piece of art.
Very cool. And is it just current equipment that you guys are putting out there? Or can people order stickers for older pieces of equipment that you guys have made?
Question. Yeah. So a lot of our customers have seen the value, and we came out with this a few years back. So obviously, have sold some equipment without this technology on it, and we'll retrofit or send any of our current customers stickers for their existing equipment that basically was built before this came out.
I think even at the tech talk you gave, the guy immediately brought up because let's face it, feed mills, grain facilities, all that, they're not the nicest environments sometimes. So they can get beat up pretty quick, but you can order replacement stickers pretty easily if something happens to the one on your piece of equipment too, right?
Correct. And this is also something we do not charge for this. This is obviously we want to sell our customers conveyors and equipment and bucket elevators, but we just felt like this is a value add. The more successful our end users are, the more successful their operations are. And we don't charge for this. It's a free of charge. And we just think it's kind of a value add that kind of separates our equipment from the others.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. Do you have any examples of how the QR platform has been utilized by customers? Anything that they've done that you weren't really expecting them to do with the technology?
I think the overwhelming thing is just operations and safety, seeing how just the safety aspect of how to properly run it. We've also seen great success, like I was previously mentioning about the spare parts. There's nothing worse than getting a spare part and you're down and that spare part not being correct. So we've had a tremendous feedback on locations, especially with new maintenance managers or guys or gals switching locations, and just knowing that the 3 clicks or 4 clicks, you're getting the right spare part. One thing that we weren't certain about, but we've actually, for one of our larger milling companies, that they use a safety log. So basically, say if you were to tension the chain on June 5th of 2023, they simply send us an email and we go on the back end of the barcode and basically keep a maintenance tracking sheet for that piece of equipment. So when you go back there, you can see exactly when the chain was tightened within that certain chain conveyor.
Yeah, the safety aspects are a good point because I mean the repair aspects are really obvious, like right, you can go and see the exact part you need and order it and all that. But the logging and even the keeping of the safety information, I'm imagining inside the encyclopedia. So if someone needs to look up how to properly run this machine, they can do so just with a simple scan, right?
Exactly. And it seems pretty low elementary, but just even having the ability to take a picture of the barcode and get our phone number, I guess with some of these, just having the ability to hit one button and talk to a real person that actually works for the company and not a call center has been a big value add to our customers.
Yeah, I'm sure it has, especially because when you're in that situation where you need to call the company, you're probably already in a pretty stressed.
Exactly. And it's people don't know what phone number to call. They don't know if this is the right company, so forth and so on. So just to have that basically assistance at your fingertips, it has been a big help. And that's the feedback we've received.
Well, yeah, and like you said, it must be really nice for new employees, which there are quite a bit. And even as employees get stretched thinner and thinner, you might not have a maintenance guy on site anymore. You might be roaming between multiple facilities. So just being able to
Exactly.
have someone go in and scan, that's really, really cool.
And another positive feedback is just the ability to have the drawing within to see it on your iPhone. So scan the QR code and have our drawing that has pretty much every aspect, chain speed, shaft size, everything else, where the employee that isn't familiar with the piece of equipment can become real familiar with it within a few minutes by looking at the drawing.
It's a really innovative way to use technology that's out there to make our lives in the plant a lot easier. So thank you so much for coming on and chatting about it today.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Brett? Anything that we didn't cover?
No, I think that's about it. They're more than welcome to give us a call. And like I said, this comes out on every piece of chain conveyor and bucket elevator. And yeah, we feel like the very good value add, and we get some of the best feedback and best ideas from our customers. So we're always continually listening to see how we can improve our equipment, our process, and just never settling for the status quo.
That sounds great. And I hope you keep us in mind as you guys come out with new stuff and have new innovations. I'd love to have you back on. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to everybody about what you have going on.
Anytime. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully you have a great week.
At you too. Thanks everyone out there for listening. Make sure you stay safe and we'll see you next time.